Welcome everyone to another night review. Today we have the all-new 2022 Volkswagen Taos. And in this night review, we're going to take a look at all these exterior lights, the interior ambient lighting, and take it out on the road and check out the adaptive headlights. Let's go ahead and jump into it. Now, if this is your first time joining for a night review, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any more. I do night reviews on a lot of different type of vehicles. So first things first, starting up front, we've got full LED headlights. So you've got LED high beams, LED low beams standard on every model, and the LED daytime running light. I like that lighting running underneath of the headlight housing. And then the SEL model is gonna give you this LED light bar that runs across. What do you guys think of that? It's definitely pretty bold, but I like it. And there's definitely a bonus to these headlights that I'll tell you about in a little bit for this top SEL trim. But as you can see, you also get this LED blinker that takes the place of that one light strip. And you can even see it says IQ light because these are adaptive lights, and we'll show you that in a little bit. And just a quick look at this paint color. This is called Cornflower Blue. I think that's a crayon color. I'm not sure, but that's what I've been told. Got these black 18-inch wheels. You've got the marker light on the side, nice bright LED. There's just no mirror lights, which is a little bit surprising to me. And size-wise, this is kind of an in-betweener. It's not as big as some compacts, not as small as some subcompacts, but it is loaded out with LED lights. You've got LED taillights standard. We even have this amber-colored LED blinker. It's a really unique taillight design. Definitely stands out, just like it does up front. Plus you've got LED license plate lights. Then let's look at the brake lights and reverse lights. Now the cargo area has a little bit of a light. We've just got one light on the side there. It's probably high enough to illuminate all of your cargo if needed. It works okay, but it's definitely not great. Then a quick look inside, nothing special. You've just got your standard lights right up above. No ambient lighting in the back seat like there is in the front seat. And then there's just one backlit USB port down there. And be sure to check out my full review because this is much more spacious than you would probably expect. But the good stuff is in here. There's no approach lighting or anything fancy like that, but take a look at these seats. We've got leather seats. They're two-tone. They are comfortable. They're heated as well. I'll talk more about that in the full review, but you've got ambient lighting as you can see. But let's go ahead and hop in. Now that we're inside, let's start it up. Foot on the brake, push button start. And you've got a nice digital display right there and a big digital display over here as well. So first things first, let's look at the buttons. All the buttons are backlit illuminated. The lock buttons, the window buttons, the mirror buttons, nothing is left unlit. And then your actual light controls are just to the left here. You've got the automatic function, parking lights, regular lights, or you can just shut them off. There's no fog light to be adjusted here and no automatic high beam switch to be adjusted either. On the steering wheel, nice soft white backlighting. Same thing over here, even a heated steering wheel button. And then this digital display is standard called Volkswagen's Digital Cockpit. There's a lot of different information you can see on here, different pages you can go through, and just different views entirely. So tons of different information, and it's very bright and easy to see, and you can dim it as well. Now over here, you're gonna get a smaller display on the base model, otherwise you'll get this 8-inch screen on the rest of them. So I'm at the ambient lighting screen. You just go to settings, and when you just put your hand close to the screen, it will pop up your settings. So you can change the color to go to white, for example. And let me just kind of scroll through a couple of these. Red, orangish, and like yellowy colors. And you've got greenish, bluish colors, all the way over to like purple, pinkish colors. So definitely pretty cool, and it's on the doors and across the entire dash. And another thing about this, if you just touch over here, you can select a specific area of how bright it is or how not bright it is. And you can turn the entire ambient lighting system off just like that, and then it'll be pretty darn dark in here. So one other thing is if you go to settings, and then you go to lights, you've got your dynamic cornering light, which is not like a fog light turning thing, it's the actual adaptive lights. You can turn that off or on, or the sensitivity of your headlights. And then the brightness for the interior and the instrument panel, you have to go right here. There's not like a switch or anything that you can push, it's all right there. Most of the time there's like a little interior brightness switch over here, but not on here. So for convenience wise, I wish that we had a little something more than just going on to the screen. But aside from that, you've got wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, so check that out. And then moving down, we've got dual zone climate control, all easy to use and all nicely backlit. Just below the climate controls, you've got 2 USB-C backlit ports. The shifter's even got some nice lighting on it too. But otherwise, without the extra light coming in right here, this is really dark. There's no overhead type of ambient lighting or anything like that. Even this little storage console is just pitch black. And then in the glove box, this is a mystery. I haven't been in there yet. There's no light in there either. So with both of those lights on, it really illuminates this interior. So lights are not bad at all. I mean, you can see pretty well when you've got all those lights on. And then the visor even gives you a vanity light as well. Now taking a look at the headlights with adaptive lights, you turn the car on and they will do a little dance. They split up a little bit, they level out, boom. And that's what it'll do every time you turn the car on. And check this out, just the low beams, this is a really good looking beam pattern from left to right. Obviously there's a little dip for the oncoming traffic, and then it's really strong and really wide as well. I'm definitely excited to get these on out on the road. High beams, nice and bright in the middle. So the thing about it is these headlights do not have an IIHS rating yet at the time of this video, but just from what I've seen so far, I would think they're probably a top good rating. Now for one of my favorite things is to look at the distance of these headlights. So I've been using this hill for a while now, or this little runway, and all of that to the passenger side is very well illuminated, both of those posts and the fire hydrant. And there's a little bit of light over on the driver's side. There's always going to be a dip right there to help prevent blinding oncoming traffic, but that looks pretty darn good for the distance. So we'll get these on the road and see how they do. All right, we're starting it up in this Volkswagen Taos. We're gonna go for a drive. So we're gonna go for a drive primarily so you can get an idea of what it's like to drive with these headlights at night, because I do a lot of night driving and I want those of you that do night driving to know what it's like and be confident or not confident depending on how good these do. So I definitely appreciate the fact that they have adaptive lights, and from my experience with other Volkswagen lights, they're going to be pretty good. Right away we'll be from this point of view, and then pretty soon we'll switch over to that camera, which we'll shut off in a second, and get a closer point of view at the headlights on a dark road. We'll do the automatic high beams throughout some of this, and I'll let you know when those are on or when they're not on. And most of this isn't going to be about the driving impressions. Be sure to check out my full review coming out soon after if you want to see more details on this vehicle. A lot of complaints have been about, not from me necessarily, but from other people, about the powertrain and how it's not fast enough, not peppy enough, but it's really not bad. It could definitely be better, of course. It's not fast, but with this turbocharged 4-cylinder, you got enough punch and pep to get you going, especially with city driving. Pretty good. There is a vehicle in front of us. I'm going to turn the automatic high beams on. You just move the stock forward. If you want to turn the automatic high beams off, you can hit the stock again and it'll just do regular high beams. I'll tell you when those are off or on. So automatic high beams are on, but the low beams are still on, probably because of the street lights. I always like to go on some fairly well lit roads to know how sensitive these high beams are. And there's a car over there, and we'll see if the high beams turn on. Nope, the high beams are staying off. So Volkswagen is definitely a little bit more on the cautious and conservative end of when the high beams are going to turn on. Before we get on a dark road, I like the ambient lighting in here. I like how you can adjust the color, the brightness, the whether or not it's even on. So let me know what you guys think as well. I wish there was a little bit more of an ambient glow in the middle, just a general glow, but it's still a nice place to be at night. The rear view mirror is automatic dimming, but neither of the side mirrors are, so you can get some glare in those side mirrors. But let's get on a dark road. Now we're about to get on a real dark road with basically no additional lights on it. So we'll do the high beams, the low beams, the adaptive lights, and get a good idea. But let's go ahead and switch cameras right now. So high beams just kicked on, as they should have in the total darkness like this. High beams are reaching out really far. I can definitely see pretty darn far. Now just the low beams to see how we do once we level out. Those low beams are shining all the way into that corner. Distance is good. We'll leave the low beams on for the corner and go around with the adaptive function. Look for them to turn to the left, and they are a little bit. Definitely still a dark spot on that driver's side, the oncoming traffic lane, but these are still doing a really good job. So low beams are on still. I want to see how far they reach over this hill. I can see markers on the road way up there. And then automatic high beams, just turn those on, and that's really bright. That's nice and bright. I mean, it's not too narrow, it's not shifted over to one side or the other. It's just about right. I really like these high beams. Going around this side, I'm gonna turn the high beams off. The adaptive function definitely works well. It's pretty responsive, as you can see right there. Hope I don't get pulled over. And with this light on the left, it usually turns the high beams off. And it did. It turned off my Volkswagen high beams. Now the high beams just turned back on. So look way ahead, off into the distance. The camera doesn't do it justice, but I can see really well. Now just the low beams, distance is still good. And off to the sides, the width is also good. It's not great close to the vehicle, but kind of off at an angle. It does a pretty good job. So width is also good. There's a really strong beam pattern out to the sides. Automatic high beams back on. And I apologize, we haven't really gotten much for traffic to test out the automatic high beams. We'll see if we do here in just a bit. But coming up on this stop sign, I can see that really well with the high beams. Now low beams, still really good. So I've got to say, you know, I don't have the IIHS headlight ratings, which are measured and, you know, statistical. But just from my point of view, these headlights are great. So I would definitely give them a top rating if I would have to guess. All right, now hopefully we can hit some oncoming traffic here in a bit. The automatic high beams are on, and they just kicked back on once we got up to speed. And as we come over here, we're bound to hit some traffic or some street lights. So the high beams are still on. There's a stoplight up there that's red, and this just turned off. So it's just the low beams now. It might have sensed that car coming. We'll see if the high beams turn back on when the car goes by. And they did. So the high beams kicked on right away. So that's good. They are responsive. They're definitely a little more on the cautious side, but they have worked well in my short time with them. But I hope y'all enjoyed this night video. Be sure to check out my full review of this car as well for all the details and more other night videos. Thank you so much for tuning in. Hope you have a great one. We'll catch you later.